What is up, family? Welcome to another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host and international award-winning Make Every Second Count speaker. Now, guys, I am freaking pumped up tonight. I know. I'm always pumped up, but I really am tonight. The guest we have tonight is a very interesting lady. She never knows how she is going to feel in the next second. Think about that. Not knowing how you're going to feel in 1 second from now. That's crazy. But I ask you guys if you would please, please share this episode out. Invite as many people as you can to watch it. I would love you to do that. Give us all kinds of thumbs up, hearts, frowny faces, cry faces. Heck, you can even get mad at us. I don't care. And keep the comments coming. We want to have more of a conversation than just make a presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. But we will find out how our guest is feeling in this second right about now. Hey, Don, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thank
She's
you.
doing great. Well, the episode is done. It's over. She's great. But it is fantastic to have you on here. I'm glad you took the time out of your busy evening to be here with me and my viewers as we approach the story of not knowing how you will feel in the next second. But first of all, I would like you to go ahead and tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do. I'm going to be inviting a few people on my phone. So I am looking down, but I am also paying attention. All right.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Uh, my name is Dawn Super, and that's actually my real name. I live just outside Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley. The sunshine helps me a lot. And I am an empowerment coach. I work with people who suffer from sleep deprivation, difficult circumstances, and I'm also an operations manager for a company.
Wow. Sounds like you're doing quite a bit out there.
Yeah, I have a group of people with narcolepsy, and it's a different kind of group. Like, I call it a cocktail party where everybody just happens to have narcolepsy because you're not allowed to complain or be hopeless. It's all about finding life hacks and encouraging each other and laughing at the silly things that sleep deprivation makes us do.
Well, that is awesome. And I that is kind of leading into the next question. But so I know because I was in a car accident when I was 17. I spent 2.5 months in a coma and 3.5 in the hospital. I wasn't supposed to be walking right now, but guess what? I'm walking. And I have learned since then that there are many things that we have to grow through in order to get through. So, has there been anything in your life that you have had to grow through?
Yeah, I actually spent 11 years undiagnosed with narcolepsy, falling
What?
asleep at inappropriate times. I was seeing a doctor at the time, and they never suggested sleep disorders. And all my friends were telling me it was in my head, so I went to a psychologist.
Oh, it was in your head, but
Yeah, yeah. So um, the first visit, I told him it's the strangest thing. I just will feel so overwhelmed, and I'll put my head down, and it's like I'm frozen. I can still hear everything that's going on around me, but I can't move. And he said, "You have narcolepsy," like instantly. First
wow.
5 minutes of our conversation.
I can't believe he actually said that so quickly.
It's because cataplexy is when the brain puts some to all of the body into sleep paralysis, but your brain is still active. So it's kind of
Wow.
like locked in syndrome. And the only way you can have cataplexy is if you have narcolepsy.
Wow.
I think there's
Didn't-
maybe one other way, but I'm not a doctor.
Oh, you're not a doctor?
No.
Man, I
I
thought I
don't even
got
play
a
one on
doctor
TV.
for the show tonight. I'm gonna have to defund you now.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I've had a lot of adversity. I had a traumatic past, not just narcolepsy, but I actually have 9 diagnosed conditions. And I was 35 before I liked myself, and 41 before I knew what it felt like to be happy for the first time in my life.
wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
it took a
41
lot.
before you discovered happiness?
Yeah.
Wow,
I had really difficult circumstances, and I let them stand in front of me, between me and happiness.
wow. Now that is a powerful insight right there, and I think that a lot of people don't understand that, and they should understand that because that would open so many doors for so many people. You know, what I talked to the fifth grade about here in my town earlier today was I talked to them about happiness being an inside job. And I taught them how they look and what they look at matters for their own mental health and well-being. And I
Yeah,
just find that to be a wonderful insight you just provided. So thank you for that.
my
But
pleasure.
so I have a few questions here.
Okay.
All right. What is, I mean, are you trying to think how to word it, but you're not gonna fall asleep when we're on the air. I mean, narcolepsy we see on TV is somebody that just falls asleep.
Right. I'm very prepared for our meeting today. I've already had my nap. I've had a cup of coffee. I've had water. I've had my medicine. And I'm good. It took me like 3 decades of living with narcolepsy to understand that I have a thing I call the tell. And it's like a sensation that something gets unplugged in my brain. And then I start to have symptoms. I yawn, my eyes water, I bump into things. It's like a progression of symptoms from that first little tell. So if I get that sensation, start losing my focus, if I go sleep then for 40 minutes, I skip all of these symptoms. So it's like
Wow,
preventative. But
wow.
before I knew that was happening, I didn't when you're sleep deprived, it affects the executive functions of the brain. So you don't have the same kind of processing power that you do if you're well rested.
All right,
So
and what are you calling the executive functions of the brain?
they're actually specifically laid out what the executive functions of the brain are. Some of them include short-term memory, the ability to rationalize and make decisions. Um, I don't know. I don't have that written
I
down to
it's
know.
all
I'll
right.
tell.
I don't
There's like
I
12 of them.
It wasn't a planned question,
It's
so
okay.
I can't blame you for not being prepared. So, another question, do you drive?
I do. Because I have that sensation and I know when I'm going to fall asleep, I am safe behind the wheel. I know I can drive for at least an hour, no problem, um, all over town. If I'm planning a trip that's longer than an hour, I will tell them I can be there within 2 hours. And that way, if I need to pull over and sleep, I can.
Wow, that's cool. So this has forced you to be more prepared. Is that
Very.
right?
Yes, very. I'm a
Wow.
process streamliner, like an expert in life hacks and doing something once and, getting it done fast. Because um, right now I'm in an insomnia cycle, but before that I was sleeping a lot. And when you don't know when you're going to get tired again, because even though I have this sensation of the tell, I have no idea when it's coming.
Yeah.
So it can happen at 10 in the morning, 11, 1, I have no idea. But and so before I knew I had a tell, I would just keep going until I dropped dead. And that's what most people with narcolepsy do. And that's why you see it characterized that way in the movies and stuff, is because if you aren't aware that you're doing this progression, you're gonna be going out. Like, it's just going to happen. I never go to the doctor by myself because sitting and waiting in the waiting room for half an hour starts to take down my energy levels and my executive functions. And then they take me in the little room and sit me on the table and they leave me there alone for another half an hour. And by the time the doctor walks in, I'm like, who am I? I have to record it because I'm just so exhausted by then. Waiting and stopping don't go well for me. I got to go, go,
Wow. And
go.
do you have any idea what caused this? I mean, was this something you were born with, or did it start later in life?
From my understanding, there's a genetic component. So if you have the gene, you can get narcolepsy, but it's not a guarantee you will get narcolepsy. For me, what triggered it was a walking pneumonia at the age of 11. What happens, and my understanding is, you get some sort of respiratory or serious illness, mono, the flu, that kind of stuff, and your immune system starts to confuse this substance in your brain. It's got two names. It's hypocretin and orexin. And so it doesn't fit in the receptors the same way anymore. And so the receptors stop functioning properly. So where where a diabetic can't control their blood sugar, we can't control our sleep wake cycles because that substance that does that for us is missing in our brains.
Wow. That is crazy. I'm sorry. I was trying to get the comments on for
Oh,
people that don't normally watch the show,
oh,
so they're
great.
not connected to me. And I miss when you quit talking because I was trying to do
It's
that.
okay.
So I apologize for that.
No need.
But so I mean, how did it make you feel when you were diagnosed with this? I mean, did it make you um like fearful because you didn't know, or how, or were you happy because you finally got an answer?
I felt vindicated, after everyone telling me I was working too hard or I was doing something wrong. Um, I felt vindicated that not only do I have narcolepsy, but I have two movement disorders as well. And in the 6 hours I slept during my sleep study before they woke me up, I had 96 awakenings.
Wow.
So when I'm home sleeping 12 hours, I'm getting 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep because I'm constantly being dragged through the sleep cycles.
Wow.
It's exhausting.
That's crazy.
And then I dream
So,
I'm working all night. So it's like I never got any real rest.
wow. I'm so sorry to hear that, but
Thank
I'm
you.
glad that you have a handle on it and you know the signs that it's coming on.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So, how has this changed your life? I mean, what is it that is different now than it used to be?
Well, let me go back to where things were harder because at 55 years old, I'm managing incredibly well, and it was a
Man, you're
long path.
55. You
Yeah.
don't look 55.
Thank you. I just had my birthday
Oh,
earlier this
happy
month.
birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. So at the height of it, you have a very unpredictable life. Some of us have a really hard time waking up. Uh, Hallucinations are a thing. I would hear my doorbell ringing even though I don't have a doorbell. Um, I smell smoke and cigars when there was nothing there. The dreams are hyper realistic, so if you're dreaming aliens are landing, you feel like you're really experiencing that. And because we dance on the line of asleep and awake, we can dream while we're still awake. So, like, I see things in my room that aren't there. And fortunately, I had a black lab for 17 years, and he was my barometer. If the dog wasn't freaking out, I knew it wasn't real.
All right, so we actually have a couple comments here,
Great.
but I also want to extend a hello to my dad who's watching from across the street. Hi to Natalie Young, who I'm not, or Nicole Young, sorry, not sure I know her, but oh well. Nice to see you on here. And then we got Robert Booker, who's watching from Canada. We have Wendy Klein. She is my physical therapist. It's pretty cool. And then we have two questions. The first one is I don't know if it's a question, but there have been times in my life where I experienced burnout. Burnout at 20. I would fall asleep during anything, standing, working, driving. It took me a year to fully recover. The later time in life was medically related. I would dream I was working, but I had actually fallen asleep while working. So that's not really a question, but that's awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, Robert. And then we have Nicole saying, may I ask if you've tried cranial sacral massage or had your eyes tested at an eye specialist?
That would be no for both.
All right.
And for the guy who had the burnout in his 20s, that's exactly what narcolepsy is like. You can get narcolepsy type symptoms with other things like give you long COVID or mono, that kind of stuff. Like if your body's really taken down, it can look like narcolepsy. But the
Wow.
test for narcolepsy is very, very difficult. They have you sleep overnight. You have to sleep at least 6 hours, and you're hooked up to all these machines, and it tells if you have sleep apnea or whatever, if you're awakening in the night. And then they wake you up in the morning and you go through a series of 5 naps where they let you sleep and then they wake you up for an hour and then sleep and then up and then sleep and then up. And you have to hit REM sleep in a certain number of the naps and within a certain amount of time. So it's a pretty brutal test, but no question
Wow.
about the diagnosis once you get it.
Maybe she was talking to me.
Oh, that's very
Um,
possible. I thought about
I'm
that.
not sure because she said I've
Oh,
had
yeah, there
3
you go.
TBIs and they have been game changers for me. But
Okay.
if you were talking to me, I'm sorry, Nicole. I haven't had either of those things done. I should look into that. But I have been oh wait. I have been to an eye specialist to have my eyes tested. So yeah. But so I'm curious. What advice would you have for somebody else that is going through this at the moment? Something similar to what you have gone through.
My best advice is to start a journal, and you want to record when you go to sleep at night, when you get up, each time in the middle of the night, and then when you get up in the morning, any naps that you take, any episodes that you have where you feel sleepy, all the foods that you eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, when you work out, when you go to work, like really put your life into this journal for at least 3 weeks before your appointment to see the doctor, because usually when people go complaining about being tired, the first thing they say is you're depressed, you're not eating right, you're not exercising, you're working too much, you're not sleeping enough. So if you bring, this is what I'm doing and I'm still having trouble, it'll help your doctor get you on a better path faster.
Wow, that's very sound advice. But Nicole says the therapies she mentioned can help anyone with the brain. I think that's you. I think that's me. I think that's everybody out there.
Yeah,
But
cranial sacral massage sounds really pleasant, actually.
I don't know. It sounds a little strange, but I'll check it out. So, but all right, let's say somebody goes to the doctor
Mhm.
and they even have a notebook of their sleep cycles with them,
Yeah.
and the doctor just can't imagine it's narcolepsy. What would you tell somebody that is in that?
Situation.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was trying
I
to think
think,
of that word.
if you don't already know your doctor and you're going to a new doctor and you're in foreign territory, you could consider going to the Stanford website. They have a very thorough section on narcolepsy where they discuss the symptoms and the possibilities. And then a doctor has access to a thing called the Epworth Sleepiness Scale, and they can do that with you in their office. If you have a doctor and you're showing them that you're sleeping enough 8 hours, 7, 8 hours a night, you're exercising, you're eating right, you're doing all the things, and you're still falling asleep, 1, 2, 3 times a day, that's a problem. And if they're not willing to at least listen to the possibility that you could have sleep apnea or something else that's keeping you from getting deep sleep at night, then you need to see another doctor.
Yeah, well, seeing another doctor is probably good advice.
Yeah.
But so I, I know earlier you had mentioned that you had people in your group that had narcolepsy brought on by traumatic brain injury or TBI for short. Yeah. What are those people like? I mean, what do they experience?
I'm not sure if the TBI narcolepsy puts you into type 1 or type 2. And the only difference between the two types is type 1 has cataplexy and type 2 does not. Um, I have a fun fact for you. Harriet Tubman, do you know who that is, the
Yeah,
historical figure?
yeah.
She actually was speculated to have narcolepsy from a TBI.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? How did she get a TBI? Do you
She got
know?
knocked in the head by a slave owner.
Wow. That,
Yeah,
that's that's interesting. I
right?
didn't have any idea of that.
Yeah. I don't know specifically the differences. I'm sure it depends on the extent of the TBI would increase or change the symptoms that they would have. So
Yeah,
the centers are very close to each other.
yeah. Well, I don't know. That's
How do you
good.
sleep?
Oh, I sleep like a baby.
Up every 30 minutes?
No, no. Well, that depends. Do I have to go to the bathroom? Usually I'm asleep for hours before I have to get up.
That's good.
So yeah.
The brain needs sleep. The
Yeah.
eyeballs, the eyeballs alone need 6 hours of sleep at night just to refresh themselves.
So what have you done, or what have you done to adapt to this life?
Well, like I said before, I've had 44 years to live with this. So I work for myself. I make my own hours. I can nap whenever I want to. Um, I went like 15 years ago on a modified autoimmune paleo diet, and I dropped 15 symptoms from my 9 disorders. I went through clearing negative emotions with NLP, and I've done some. I have myofascial pain syndrome, which is where your fascia shrinks. So I've done a lot of myofascial stretching to release trauma from my body, a lot of meditation. I use medical marijuana as medicine. I tried using the big pharma medicine and it almost killed me. So I can't take anything. Food additives really mess me up bad. So I eat mostly fruits and vegetables and whole foods. Um,
That's cool.
yeah, lots of stuff. But the mind is the biggest one because um, I remember one time someone was looking at me and I was uncomfortable and I was going like this and they're like, "Do you want to stop the movie?" And I'm like, "No, why?" And they're like, "Well, you look uncomfortable." And I'm like, "Well, if I waited to watch a movie until I felt comfortable, I'd never watch a movie."
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to just not think about your suffering and let something else take center stage, and then you can forget about your suffering for a little while. And that's my
Wow.
motto: forget
Now
about my
that is
suffering.
that is a deep, insightful thought right there.
Thank
I
you.
love that. Sometimes you have to forget about your suffering and do something else, or you'll
Yeah.
never get it done.
You'll never enjoy anything.
Wow, that's
What
cool.
happens if I wait until I feel better? But I'm never going to, really, because it's a lifelong thing.
Yeah, we got Robert in the comments saying that he's been having good results from breath work. It helped him recover from having COVID a year and a half ago. And then we have Robert again, who is saying, I do drink water before bed to help me get up in the morning, and my watch alarm vibrates, which helps too.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I actually flipped in 2020 during the pandemic. I flipped to an insomnia cycle, and I can't stay asleep for more than 2 hours at a time now.
Oh,
So it's really brutal. I'm
wow.
like in the opposite of the sleep tell, I have the wake tell. So when I come to consciousness, I know by how much cognition I have in my brain if I'm going to be able to just close my eyes and go back to sleep, or if I'm going to close my eyes and end up in that horrible loop where I'm dreaming the same thing every time I close my eyes, or dreaming that I got up and I'm getting ready for work, but I'm still sleeping. That's
Wow.
it's like a sleep inertia. It's not
Wow.
good. So if I get
Wow.
up, I spend a half hour walking around my house in the dark, whatever, and then I can go back and get 2 more hours, and it's brutal.
Wow. That's crazy. So,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry to say this half hour has gone
I know.
fast.
Flip by, right?
But I gotta say thank you again for coming on here and being so open about this stuff that is kind of a private deal.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you being so open about it.
Thank you.
But I need everybody out there, including you, Miss Super, which I love, by the way,
Thank you.
that you have to make every second count. You ask why? Because you never know when the seconds will run out on your one life. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, thank you, Dawn, so much.
It's my pleasure.
Have a great night.
Thank you.